2050, robots are now an integral part of events planning and management, meaning humans have become more expandable. Technology has continued to drastically change every aspect of our societies, businesses, and lives, and robot workers are now the norm. They can work around the clock, need no breaks, and are less likely to make human errors. Because the Robotic Olympics has been such a huge success, there hasn't been a need for mass stadiums to be built, resulting in migrant workers no longer being required to work in unbearable heat for no money, which is what angered fans around the world when it was announced that Qatar had been doing that for when the World Cup was there in 2022. At first we welcomed the robot workers as factory conditions even here in the UK were grim. The Qatar World Cup was heavily criticised for having 2 million migrant workers come from South Asian countries. Since 2010, when Qatar won the bid for the 2022 World Cup, more than 15,000 workers have lost their lives. But why is this happening? The workers are dying because they're working in temperatures reaching 37 degrees for the majority of the day. Another case of modern-day slavery is from a fast fashion brand called Boohoo, where a journalist went undercover in one of their warehouses and found messages carved into the floor calling the warehouse a prison. During the shifts, the employees had a machine attached to them to say where an item was that they'd need to collect. However, this machine would also track their footsteps, with some employees saying they can only have 1 to 2 toilet breaks in a 12-hour shift. Now that we are in 2050, work environments have improved dramatically. As robots have taken over from humans in a warehouse environment, the takeover of robots across workplaces could have been viewed as a black jellyfish. It was something too complex for us to understand at the time. We were living in a period of doomism, climate crisis, post-COVID, and so businesses weren't thinking about AI technologies. Since COVID-19 shook the world, hometainment made a brief visit in the 2020s, but thankfully this trend has decided to come back and allow more event managers the opportunity to run their own festivals from their homes without the risk to any human life. This wouldn't have been made possible if it wasn't for the AI being this advanced. Elon Musk has said that the future of the robotic workforce could lead to a future of abundance where there is no poverty. Musk also mentions that human interaction will still be necessary. In particular, if you're working on something that involves people, it's a good focus for your future. Not only is this far future thinking, but it's also a positive for the festival industry, as humans won't be replaced by robots, but instead robots will be there to help us out with the labour and jobs. However, this is ironic because a company that is constantly thinking about the future, which is Tesla, owned by Elon Musk, only has 2 female executives out of 9 executives, a metaphor that screams out its snowy white peaks, as there's white males at the top and the 2 female members of the board might be there just so Tesla can say they are a diverse company. Michael Gwillim, who was a guest speaker back in 2022, also backed this up by emphasising the fact he has 1 female on the board of directors. But as time has gone on and technology has advanced at an exponential rate, we started to see robot versus human sporting events. Now this isn't what it sounds like, but it's a human controlling a humanoid robot. A great movie which predicted this but got the year wrong is Real Steel. This allows human and robots to interact with one another, but also ensure that humans are no longer getting serious injuries from boxing like we've previously seen with boxers like Nick Blackwell, who unfortunately had to be put into a coma due to sustaining too many punches to the face. Since the creation of humanoid boxing, the robotic sporting competitions has blown up and the founding of the Robotic Olympics has taken the world by storm. This wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for the video game industry, where they use AI and allowed you to be a part of the Olympics from your lounge. After the success of the Robotic Olympics, the RoboCop Federation decided to get the best footballing robots to test their ability against the England international team, who finally managed to win their first World Cup since 1966. The event was a fantastic sight for all spectators that they decided to carry on with this event. Robots used to be limited to executing mechanical, repetitive activities, but now they have been programmed to build large buildings as well as festival sites. This has now helped out with modern-day slavery, but by doing that, it has now created a whole new problem. Unemployment was at its highest for a short period of time, but thankfully with the new legislation in place, the people that used to have white-collar jobs such as the power sector will still have their role, as there's been 35 million jobs created in order to keep the robots performing at their optimum. Festivals tended to be possible future thinkers, but now we're in 2050, they've become provocative future thinkers. At the recent Glastonbury Festival, it was reported that they had a record number of attendees because they allowed people to be chipped in so that they could be at the festival wherever they were in the world. This is because events have started to connect with its consumers through technology to try and create a more meaningful experience. Although we only started to think about the future in the last 4 to 5 decades, it is impressive to see how far into the future we have actually started to think. This is important as we need to start thinking what life will be like when robots do eventually take over. Multivac UK, who are one of the leading manufacturers for robots in the UK, came up with a way that would always make sure that the human is in charge. They managed to program the robots with a chip in their brain so that a human can order them to stop what they're doing and even shut down if needed. This became a massive hit, and we even saw it being used at some of the largest festivals in the UK. With the vast amount of people at Glastonbury, the inclusivity for the customers was seen all over social media, but the greatest achievement was the well-being for the human staff members. Gone are the days of modern-day slavery, with robots helping out with human staff. You could sense that the staff were happy to be there. However, with the use of robots, what effect has this had on the environment? As we saw back in 2010 with the floodings in Pakistan and the excessive drought in Russia, we are still dealing with these extremities, but thankfully, with the help of the robots, we have managed to help lower the Earth's temperature. Lowering the Earth's carbon footprint has been on the minds of many people since the mid-2000s. A study has shown that in 2013, 2,810 megatons of carbon dioxide emissions had been created from passenger cars. Thankfully for COVID-19, we saw the vast majority of people in the world turn to internet-based applications like Microsoft Teams and Skype to continue day-to-day meetings. Overall, 2050 is a very exciting decade. The work and life of festival staff has never been so good, and we no longer have to see headlines of thousands of people dying through flooding or working in extreme conditions. Event managers have more freedom and creativity whilst being cautious of the environment and surroundings.